Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while and there's loads to talk about. January transfer news and Celtic, Rangers, all the good stuff. Let's get into it. So I know it's been a while since we've had a video on the channel. It's really good to be back in front of the microphone. There's loads of football things to talk about. I don't really know where to start. I mean, first of all, I think we should have our own wee therapy session about the fact that Kyogo was left. Because I'm still struggling with it. I can't believe it's happened. There's been a lot of discourse about the fact that he's left in January.
Yeah.
Which, you know, my main thing that's kind of worrying me a little bit with this is the idea that Kyogo told them apparently a few months ago that he wanted to leave, which is totally fine. But I would then expect, if that is the case, surely we had to have somebody lined up before he, for the same time that he was leaving. And it doesn't appear like that's the case, which is kind of a big red flag to me in terms of maybe Celtic taking the foot off the gas a little bit, because he's been such a big player for Celtic over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And for them to tell them a few months ago that he was leaving and not have somebody lined up is giving me a bit of panic.
I mean, I agree. I would ideally have liked Celtic to have whoever was going to be replacing Kyogo ready to go. But I also know that football doesn't really work like that. That's the sort of ideal world, and we don't live in that. I'm actually gobsmacked that we let our best player go in January. I think that Kyogo is 100% our best player. I don't know if he's Celtic's most valuable player. You know, we've got like Cal McGregor, Carter Vickers. I think Maida is probably a more like important player to the Celtic squad, but Kyogo's definitely like the best, if not one of the best players, and I don't really get why we've let him go mid-season, other than it's completely out of your hands, you know.
Well, particularly before the Villa game, and obviously as we're recording this, Celtic play Aston Villa tonight, and the thing that bothers me a little bit is it seems to be this idea of this game being a throwaway game, but if Celtic go and get a result, we could be top 8. And so I don't like how it's been treated almost like it doesn't really matter, and it seems to me like the Celtic board and Brendan Rodgers are kind of treating it that way by letting Kyogo go before it, because you're looking at Kyogo's away, Mina's suspended, Jota's not registered, so we're well shot tonight.
I know.
Plus Carter Vickers is out as well.
I know.
So
I mean, we're playing Yang.
So mate, I'm looking at it and I'm going, tonight could be a bad game for us, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the draw right now from where we're sitting in position, we're more likely to draw like the likes of Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or something. Whereas if you move a few places up, you get a Benfica or something like that. So what I'm saying is, it's frustrating to me that we couldn't wait a few more days past that Villa game to have somebody like Kyogo, considering he's already waited that long.
I just don't think that there's any coincidence that we've brung back the guy for Shamrock Rovers, who's a centre forward, who was doing well, and he scored something like 6 and 6 in the Europa League or the Conference League, wherever they're playing, and you're like, fair play. But that's starting to make a wee bit more sense to me now that Kyogo's left, because you're kind of like, really? You know, like, could we not just leave him there for the season and see what he does in the Irish League and then bring him back in the summer, get him a pre-season, all that sort of stuff? But it's kind of the jigsaw pieces started to click into place when I'd seen the sort of Kyogo rumour. I was like, right, okay, so this young guy's been brought back so that we've got 3 strikers, even if Kyogo leaves. Brendan Rodgers said a couple of days ago that there will be a replacement. So I think that I would imagine, and this is me again, hopeful, they've got their eyes on the guys that they want, and we're just waiting for that to happen.
I just hope to God it's not Jimmy Vardy. Please don't let it be Jimmy Vardy.
Really?
Please don't. No, because
I wouldn't mind Jamie Vardy at Celtic.
Look, I understand he's a good player, but I just think he's a total twat of a guy. Like, honestly,
pointing to his Premier League badge every time he scores a goal.
Like he screams of a Rangers signing to me.
I was thinking when I seen the Jamie Vardy rumours And I suppose there's been 3 big rumours that have been made. There's Jamie Vardy, there's Evan Ferguson for Brighton, and then there's a Scandinavian guy, Norwegian guy that I wouldn't even try and pronounce his name.
There's that striker from Bromby. Is that the guy you're talking about?
Yes.
That's the guy. That's the guy we want. That's the guy we want in.
If we can get him, and it's looking like
Splash the cash, man. Get the
kind of like Engels. They're kind of like with Engels, they're holding our feet to the fire. Every club in the world knows we've got 100 million in the bank, mate. Like nobody's letting a player go.
I do wonder if maybe it'll be a case of we loan somebody in.
So that's what I was going to say. If we can't get the guy for Bromby, because I think the Bromby manager came out and said that ideally they would like to have him at the end of the season. I would absolutely, in a heartbeat, take Ferguson for Brighton. And also, I would take Vardy. When I seen the Vardy rumour come about, I thought more Craig Bellamy.
Well, he's still playing in the Premier League, and he's still, the thing about Jimmy Vardy, like we always have a tendency to think about age and things like that, but he's a very similar player to Kyogo in terms of the way that he plays and the runs he makes and things like that. So he would I think he would fit in terms of being sort of a direct replacement, and he's very rarely not fit as well.
Yeah, and Rodgers knows him, and he knows the back of the net, and I don't think it would be a bad option. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because the guy's wages will be astronomical at Leicester. He's a Premier League winner. He's in that squad. He's never left. So every time he's signing a new contract, he's getting more money. So his wages 100%. Are going to be astronomical. Would I rather that we paid a Premier League wage for Jamie Vardy or the guy Ferguson? I'd like to see the boy Ferguson come up and play for Celtic.
Well, I think neither of those options are bad. It's especially if it's like a 6-month type thing before you get that kind of permanent replacement in. So it's not, but all I'm saying, it's kind of mad to me because it's so unlike Celtic for all this stuff to happen in January. Like, can you remember the last time a January transfer window was as crazy as this one? You get Kyogo leaving, Jota's coming back, Tierney's coming back, and you all the, it's like, but a lot of the times, like, I feel like the rumor, like when that whole rumor started of Kyogo going to Rennes and Jota coming the other way, it just felt like a pure WhatsApp rumor to me. Like, that's not really going to happen in real life, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the fact that it actually has, one thing I will say, if I was to look at the positive side of things, is that Kyogo is 30 years old and he does have a bad shoulder and all these things. And you kind of go, like when you look at Rangers, for example, a big criticism of them was holding on to guys for just that bit too long. Morelos and Kent, there was probably a point those two guys could have went for decent money, but they kept them on because the fans wanted them to be kept on. And I think in a lot of ways, if you take sentiment out of it, if you get a £10 million offer for a guy that's 30, who, like has that kind of shoulder problem, at one point, I think those kind of things can catch up to him, and we don't know how he's going to be when he's 33, 30,
I agree. Strikers like Kyogo lose a yard and it's done.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think business-wise, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, like you're saying, but we're Celtic fans and we're sentimental. So you can acknowledge that and go, see, business-wise, no-brainer. Okay, but let's move past the business and come on to the footballing side. And like you're saying, we've got a Battle of Britain in the Champions League next week. Why are we selling our best player? Could it not wait to the 31st? Could it not wait a week? Why could it not wait a week? I thought it was, like you're saying, very strange. I think that there's been a lot of discourse about people being like, I don't understand the move for Kyogo. He gets to go and play in a top 4 league. France is a great league. He has a good 6 months there. He could go to Marseille. Exactly. Imagine if people are like, he's going to fight relegation, scores 10 goals, Rennes stay up, and then Monaco or somebody's looking at him.
I really hold no will to my top because I really think, see if he was like 25, I think he would stay with us for for quite a number of years because I think he was loving it here, and But I honestly think it's one of those things where his agents came in and went, "You're if you're wanting a big payday, now's the day, now's the time. If you wait a couple more years, it's not going to happen."
Yeah, I think he's getting 40, 45 grand at Rennes.
Exactly. So you need to kind of look at that and go, I honestly think it's not a case of he necessarily didn't want to stay at Celtic. It was more so looking at his age and like, having his team around him go, this is your last chance for a big move. It's now or never.
That's it. I mean, he came to us at 26, 25, 26-year-old.
We've got his prime years.
He's a club legend in my eyes. He's the best since Larson. I think he's a better
And by an
than-
absolute country mile.
Uh-huh.
There's been a bit of a debate on that as well. I've seen people agree with that and not agree with it. But the reason why he will always be the best since Larson for me right now is because he came into Celtic when Celtic, we were in the worst place we've been in for 10 years. And he came in to a team that was very bare thin, won his cups with his own individual brilliance, you know what I mean? And
through an injury, shouldn't have even been playing that game against Hibs.
Exactly. So he did similar to me what Larson done when Larson came in. Because Larson came in and basically helped to stop the 10, right? But what I'm saying is, Kyogo, people don't seem like, you need to remember how bad we were when he came in. We were in a really, really bad situation. And that guy came in and was a catalyst, I believe, for everything changing.
Yeah, he scored in
so many important
every
goals.
level. He's in derbies, important goals, hat tricks when we beat people 9-0, Champions League, Europa League. He's done it.
All of it.
At every stage.
Uh-huh.
I think that in the last 6 months, unconsciously or consciously, I mean, I actually heard somebody saying, do you think that he's been deliberately missing chances to get a move? Like, I think that is absolutely ludicrous. Like, what striker in the world signs a new contract, gets a new agent, tells the club that he wants to leave, and then is deliberately missing gilt-edged chances? I think that psychology, human behaviour would tell us that unconsciously your head's not fully focused on the job at hand because your head's wandering to your move. So that's going to cause lacks of concentration, not as dedicated, not as sharp, but that's natural.
Exactly.
So the last 6 months has not been his best. The amount he scored a first half hat-trick, Champions League hat-trick that got ruled out. So like,
that would have been some way for them to sign off.
His finish was against Hearts in December, where he let the ball run across him and he did a wee shimmy and chipped it over the keeper. I mean, still an amazing striker, but these last 6 months, the amount of times that he's been doing Dyson Maida's job for him, which is miss these, all you need to do is just even get a hair on it and it's going to go in the back of the net, and he somehow was managing to miss them. So I think it's probably the best thing for everybody that
it's a good time.
It does go.
But I hold no ill will to him and I wish him the best.
No, club legend. How do you feel about Jota coming back?
I'm absolutely buzzing about it. I'm buzzing about it for so many reasons, but I can't explain to you how much over the last year and a half that I've came into Celtic Park, and I've genuinely just thought I miss Jota so much. Just watching him week to week, it was one of those footballers you pay to watch. It was one of those footballers that he just had that kind of superstar feel about him.
Gets arses out of seats.
Exactly. And over the past year and a half, before Kuhn started hitting his heights, there was points last season where we just felt like there's a big giant Jota size hole in this team.
Yeah.
So I know he's went through a hard time and with what's went on, but from what I've read about his time at Rennes, it was more just a managerial change in preference. He debuted there and scored, and then when he went to Saudi, it was just a matter of politics and how many players they could register.
Mate,
so
I was thinking the other night, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Saudis thought they were getting Jota for Liverpool. Like that disconnected for football, and just that silliness that sometimes happens in football.
Because 25 million for him was just so random.
Ludicrous one. I mean, really and truly. I mean, if you were getting sort of 15, 16 million quid at the time, you'd have still been like, that's a great fee.
So that's what I'm saying is like he'd been great for us, but I don't know if he'd done enough to justify being 25 million.
I agree. I'm also happy. I've got that sort of like but you never go back, you know. But maybe this is the one time that it works out. I think that I love Dyson Maeda, as much as I just gave him it stinking 2 seconds ago when I was talking about Kyogo. I think that there can be no debate that Dyson Maeda sometimes just he baffles with some of the stuff that he does. And then the next minute he's like one of the best players in the world. So I accept him for who he is and I love him, right? I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Jota on the left and Kuhn on the right.
But then also, if you have Maeda through the middle there,
play Maeda through the middle.
They're all quite interchangeable as well with the movement and stuff like that. So it's exciting in that sense. I do think when we talk about Jota, one of the things that's really important to stress is that we need to give the guy time. We need to give the guy time. He's clearly had a difficult time football-wise.
Can I just, sorry to interrupt you, but I've not even thought about this, and I just thought, imagine Alistair Johnston on the right with Kieran Tierney on the left, with Jota in front of Kieran Tierney and Nicholas Kuhn in front of Alistair Johnston. I mean, that's like,
it's absolutely amazing.
Football orgasm stuff.
Yeah, and also the quality that it adds. And we've not even talked about Tierney yet, but the quality that it adds to the team is so significant. Because, I mean, Tierney, like, you know, to go into Tierney a wee bit as well, Tierney's, 27 now? And he still gets prime years ahead. He's a top level. He could play for majority of teams in the Premier League, and he's knocking them back to come back to Celtic. And I just think that he, you know, is like, when we talk about a player that massively upgrades our first 11 right away, Tierney is that guy. And people talk about his injury record, but actually, if you actually look at his injury record, he's not been injured for quite a while now.
I've seen somebody say a stat that the last 3 seasons he's averaged over 30 games a season. I think he's had some quite high profile injuries at Arsenal at times, you know, yeah. But Celtic are getting a world class player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Like, if we can keep him fit, he's still one of the best left backs in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Arsenal fans want him to stay as well.
Mate, there's some Arsenal fans that think he should be club captain. It tells you everything that you need to know about Kieran Tierney.
And I think it says a lot about the club that he wants to come back, because I don't think, see, as much as Tierney's a Celtic fan and he's obviously loves us and he wants to come back for that reason, probably first and foremost, he's also got to be smart with his career. And there's no way that he's not coming back if he's not been sold kind of an ambitious plan, I feel, of like, if Rodgers is planning on leaving soon, you know, like, there's no way that Tierney's even thinking about it.
He's just signed a contract extension. I don't see him going anywhere either.
That's what I'm saying, is like, I think what it shows me is that there's a long-term plan where Rodgers is set to stay for at least a couple of years. And so Tierney is coming back, and it's one of those things where I think it ups our profile a wee bit as well when you take a player like that, because it shows ambition. Despite the fact that he's a Celtic fan, what I'm saying is, looking at it from a career standpoint, he will have taken that into consideration, and he would have wanted to know, you know, are we, you know, where are Celtic at? What are we trying to do here? Do you want to push on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guys also went and played in the apparent biggest and best league in the world. He's played for a top 4 side. He's played in the Champions League for that side. I don't see him going anywhere in England where he's going to win anything. No. So it does come down to that. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to come up here and sit on 40, 45 grand a week and lift trophies and play for your boyhood club? Probably become club captain at some point. I mean, he's younger than McGregor. I think he's like 2-3 years younger than McGregor. Depends on fitness and all that sort of stuff. But I think he's coming home because he'd probably be homesick, and like you're saying, he loves Celtic, and they've sold him on whatever's going to be happening over the next sort of 3-4 years. So I mean, he's at this moment in time as we sit here, he signed a pre-contract to come in the summer. Alex Vaille's left. Hopefully, we're talking earlier about having foresight. Hopefully we can get him on a loan to the end of the season. I don't know if Arteta will green light that or not. Who knows?
We'll
But
see how it plays out. What I do hope is that Celtic don't leave us too short in terms of we obviously have qualified for the Champions League knockouts now, which is amazing. We beat Young Boys. I was at the game, one of the most bizarre games of football I've ever been at in my life. I had a bet on for 5-0 and it could have been 5-0 at half time. It was absolutely ridiculous, that game, because I honestly don't think I've ever been at a game like it where there's been three disallowed goals.
yeah, I was watching it with a mate that you've met, and he's a Man United fan, and he's got absolutely no affiliation with Celtic whatsoever. He's English, he's no Scottish, so whenever I watch the football with him, sometimes he gives me some home truths where I'm like, we were cheated. And he's like, maybe you were beat by a better team. That's happened over the years. I've known the guy for nearly 20 years. And he turned around and said to me, I have never seen a Champions League game that's been so dominant. And for 45 minutes at half time, he was like, actually gobsmacked at how, even though it's Young Boys, he's like, I've still never seen such a dominant performance in the first half. We destroyed them without. I mean, we hit the back of the net 3 times, but
And then see we missed the penalty, man. I'm sitting there going,
it's one of the nights.
is it one of the nights? And then seeing it's like 10 minutes to go as well, you're thinking, oh my God, are we going to draw this 0-0?
It would have been total classic Celtic as well to get themselves into a position where they only need to beat the bottom team in the Champions League to go through, and we managed to have to go to Villa Park to get a win to try and get through. And I don't think Kyogo would have. I don't think we'd have let him go had that happened, which is interesting.
But see, you're right. But then that kind of annoys me a wee bit because the Villa game's still important, man, to me. And I don't want us to go like Vickers not being available tonight worries me a lot as well. So I think, but you're right, getting over the line. I think the Champions League campaign as a whole, beside one, horrific performance in Dortmund, we've really been great. We've had 3 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat. I would have absolutely taken that before the ball was kicked. And we're not really known for getting our points away. Like, I think since the Atalanta game, which was a different side we spoke about before, we've really pushed on. I guess maybe if you're being overly critical and a bit harsh, maybe we really could have won the Dinamo Zagreb 1-0. We could have won that game 1-0. And the Club Brugge game, barring a ridiculous own goal, we really should have won that game 1-0 as well. So there's a couple of games there that were draws that could have been wins that could put us in the top 8 right now. Which, if you're being overcritical, if there was one, if we ever had the chance to reach the top 8, this was probably it. So I'll say that, but at the same time, you can't, like, with the record that we've had, to have 1 defeat and 7 is, I think it's pretty remarkable, to be honest.
I'm absolutely over the moon with this season's Champions League campaign, and it's not even just, it's the manner in which we've, like you're talking about, like moments like Atalanta where you're like, that is not what we're about away from home in Europe. Games that, like you're saying, that it's a good thing that we're looking at these games and we're like, they're draws that could have been wins and we could have been in the top 8 already. Got to Villa just, having a party. I've got a sneaky feeling that maybe the Kyogo situation, he's had a gentleman's agreement with Rodgers where he's like, look, see if we get through, I'll sell you.
Yeah.
And that's why it's happened in the manner that which it has. Plus, there was a storm coming, so it was literally like that night he had to leave, or he wasn't getting out for like 4 days, 5 days, or whatever.
Because it came out that night, right? The night, like, and you come back from the game, and all you're seeing on Twitter is Kyogo's away.
I think the Rennes manager actually said in one of his post-match interviews that midweek that he was hoping to get Kyogo in for the weekend to play against Monaco. So it shows you where they were at. So I think there's maybe a wee gentleman's agreement or something there. We'll never know.
I think they did well keeping it quiet though, for as long as they have. I think they've done well, like kind of because from my point of view, I had no idea this was going to happen.
Well, there was an MLS team coming from in the summer, and he knocked it back. Then an MLS team announced that he'd signed. And at that point, during the January transfer window, I started to think something strange is going on here. So it didn't really come as a massive surprise to me.
I think the quickness of it was what really caught me out a wee bit. But like moves like getting guys like Jota and Tierney in show to me ambition. Show I want to stay at this Champions League table. And that's exciting because very rarely do we sign two players that can just fit right into that start 11. We're not talking about two squad players, we're talking about two starters on their best day, which is exciting stuff. And if we go out and sign, you know, a 9-10 million pound striker, then it's exciting times ahead. So there's been obviously a lot of things have happened and there's been a lot to cover, but I think that obviously we'll talk about other Premiership teams. Obviously, there's a lot, like since the last podcast we done, there was a lot of videos that we done talking about Aberdeen being title challengers. So that kind of took a bit of a dive, didn't it? So we'll do some more videos on, you know, what's happened with Aberdeen, the situation at Motherwell, which has been one of the most bizarre things for the club that are really heavy on talking about mental health, having Stuart Kettlebell resign for the reasons he has. But even more bizarre has been the way that Motherwell have almost, like, as a club, blamed the fans. You're seeing this, like, narrative of do it for the manager. And it's like, the manager walked out, do it for the fans. Like, I've seen all this stuff on Twitter about, and on their social media about how they're kind of almost pushing this blame onto the fans for Stuart Kettlewell leaving. And it's like, I'm sorry, but the guy does come across arrogant. He does come across, and from every Motherwell fan I've spoke to, it's not the results that's the problem, it's the football. Apparently it was very hoof and long and there was nothing going on there. So the guy seemed to me to come across quite arrogant guy, and obviously he's been through evidently a hard time, but the thing is, to blame the whole fan base I think is a bit harsh, and there seems to be a narrative of it being like the fans' fault. But you need to remember, like, I think Stuart Kettlewell in a lot of ways has been quite clever with the way that he's with the timing of which he's resigned, because I've seen a lot of Motherwell fans say they were going to be heading down the table in no time with the way they were playing. So you got to, you know, there's things going on there that we don't know about. But I think it's been interesting to see this narrative going against their own fans, which I just wanted to comment on because I don't really agree with that. And also, is that narrative going to change the minute the renewals for season tickets need to come in? You know? So you need to be careful.
Probably.
Like, I just find it strange that they're still backing a manager who's walked out rather than backing the fans who they rely on.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So you need to be careful with that interesting situation there. I don't have a clue what the hell's happened at Aberdeen. We'll get more into detail with that next time. But there's a lot of things to talk about. Obviously, I've not mentioned Rangers, who have been on a pretty good run, I would say. But evidently, they love to go on a good run when there's no pressure happening at all. So we'll talk about that more as well. It's just been really good to be back here in the studio talking about things. We do have a podcast recorded with Matt Dallas, which was a lot of fun. So we'll get that out sooner rather than later. And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting back into the weaves of doing this podcast. So please do give us a watch, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And thank you for everyone that's still here. Hopefully we can push on and keep growing this.